just give it a couple of minutes before we start. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Boost Your Career Trajectory, Cyber Certifications for Success. If you're thinking about getting certified in cybersecurity, but you're not sure where to start, it can be quite tricky. With so many options available, choosing the right certification can feel overwhelming. Today, we aim to break down that certification landscape and help guide you into making informed career decisions. We'll be looking at how to navigate the cybersecurity certification pathways, choosing the right certification for career goals, and why the most popular certification isn't always the best. Recently, Lumify Group won the Cybersecurity Training Business of the Year award at the 2025 Australian Cyber Awards. This award, presented by Daly, recognises Lumify Group's significant contribution to building the next generation of cyber talent within Australia. My name is Jeremy Daly. I'm the cybersecurity lead here at Lumify. My role is I'm responsible for managing and implementing the strategic growth and direction of the cybersecurity training and education programs within Lumify across Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines, with a goal to help grow the cybersecurity workforce in these regions. Joining me on the webinar today are two of Lumify's cyber technical instructors. Both gentlemen are incredibly knowledgeable and talented in both the technical aspect and managing aspects of information security program development. Cremen, Lumify's lead cybersecurity instructor, has a heavy background in software and security and loves sharing his knowledge through advanced training in cybersecurity, privacy, and risk management. Miraj Rajan is a cybersecurity trainer, has deep experience in risk, governance, and compliance, and is the next CISO of a Middle Eastern telecommunications business. Miraj and Louis, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
So we're going to kick this off with some of the commonly asked questions that the three of us get all the time in our roles. First and foremost, which cyber course should I do or do next? X and Y course the same. What certifications do I need? Do I have enough experience to do a specific course. Does this help with framework alignment? And we've listed a few common ones there that come up all the time. Are you doing training in AI? Spoiler, yes we are, but we'll cover that off a little bit later. And if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to ask this in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can at the end of the presentation. It's been a few years since we last ran a webinar like this. And in fact, Louis Cremen and myself last did this in 2021. And on the screen, you'll see a certification map from Paul Jeremy. This was last updated in July 2024. But what's interesting, in the last 4 years since we ran this webinar, there's been nearly 100 additional certifications added. Now, what you're seeing on the screen here are vendor-specific certifications as well as vendor-agnostic cybersecurity certifications. And there's quite a lot here. And Louis, I just wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on this as well. I mean, this list keeps growing. I think if I look at it, it reflects on what we're seeing in the industry as well at the moment from a certification perspective.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that the cybersecurity certifications have been one of the most sought after aspects for trying to understand and baseline people's security knowledge and experience. Whereas you look at, say, some of like university degrees, they haven't caught up in the same way. So a lot of HRs, a lot of teams, a lot of people are looking at certifications as, hey, this is how I can prove that I know this, or this is how I can learn this. And so it's been really good to sort of have a lot of these. It does mean that there are a lot, though. Now, this is not us saying that you need to go get, was it 481? Please don't go get 481 certifications. But it's about how do you navigate this bubble map, what do you want to call this, of certifications. That's something that we are here today to talk about.
So at Lumify, we regularly navigate the market. We work very closely with some of the global vendor-neutral security certification bodies and product vendors and process vendors to be able to deliver high-quality certification training courses. And what we really try and do is align a lot of the certifications that we offer to what professionals and organizations are looking for. And again, when we were putting together this webinar, we were looking at this list on the screen, from what we had 4 years ago to what we have now, and it has increased. We've seen a lot of new certifications in the GRC and audit space certainly come into our portfolio. There's a lot more tactical courses as well. And again, we're going to have a look at some of these today and how they align. All the courses that we're going to talk about today are courses that Lumify are authorised to deliver. Lumify are authorised training partners for any of the certification courses that we deliver. So what that means is we're aligned with our vendors as approved training partners. All of our instructors actually hold the current certification of the course that they are teaching, and they do have experience in those industries. All the courses also are only taught by authorized instructors. So our instructors actually go through a vetting and authorization process with these cybersecurity vendors to be authorized to teach and deliver these courses. And all of our courses are only delivered using the latest official course material. So when it comes to choosing your certification pathway, there's a few different options that you can do. And the image on the screen here is a bit of a domain mind map from Henry Jiang. When you search cybersecurity domains or career pathways, this is an image that comes up. It's one of the top searched images. It's quite well known out there. And this is a really good way to think about, okay, what kind of pathway do I want to go down? And what are these pathways? So there's pathways that are according to vendors where they will use their own certifications and create a pathway. There's pathways according to career aspirations. So, are you looking at more of a cyber management role? You're looking to enhance those cyber skills. You're going more down the GRC pathway. And then there's topic pathways as well. So we're going to have a look at a couple of examples of some vendor roadmaps, and then we're actually going to break it down into some different sorts of pathways based on different feeder roles. So the first one here is a favorite of mine. So this is from CompTIA. And this is an IT certification roadmap, which really starts from that beginner novice level. And if you have a look, it showcases a number of different certifications that you can do. And they've broken it down into 5 different pathways. So cybersecurity, infrastructure and cloud, IT service management, data and AI, and software development. And it tries to help you make a bit of an informed decision on where you should start, from that beginner novice level through to intermediate, then to advanced, and then up to expert. Now, we were inspired by this as well with Lumify, and Lumify has an RTO that offers some cybersecurity bootcamp courses. And so we actually built our own entry-level mentored training course that runs over 6 months to help individuals not only learn the fundamental skills, but also help them find work in entry-level cyber roles as well. And so it pulls on some of those entry-level, beginner level courses, moving up into intermediate, all the way up into security plus, and then mentored along the way. If we look at someone like ISACA here have their certifications. And what we find, and I might actually ask Louis and Miraj to both share their thoughts here, but we certainly talk to a lot of people who will do one ISACA certification and then they'll go, oh, you know what, I've done my CISM. I'm actually going to look at doing CRIS next, or I'm going to look at doing CISA next because I'm focusing on audit.
Miraj, want to start us off with this one?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, students always have, they know how, once they do CISM, they want to know like what next, whether I want to go for risk, I want to go for GRC compliance or governance, So that's something which, we need to know ourselves from an organization point of view, or when you're working in an organization, we need to know the landscape of your organization and where to position yourself in that landscape and then move on. So you have different tracks which can really guide you towards that. That's where we are positioning this certification program. May not be like everything may not fit our organization landscape or your career roadmap. Both has to align so that you need to pick up. Say for example, if you pick up the CISM, then next phase could be a CISA auditing track, or you can even move on to governance track. So depending upon your interest, you can position yourself. And these days, privacy is a big thing. So even moving on to the privacy space as well will really help you to move ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things I get a lot of people in my classes that are like they like being in the ISACA ecosystem or the IC2 ecosystem, and they've come to me and they've already got a C risk and they want to learn CISM, or they've got a CISM, they're like, oh, I really like this. What should I do next? Like, hey, what do you do? Exactly as you just said. Do I do risk management? Do I do auditing? Do I do governance? Like, there's pathways that will expand sort of that broader level of knowledge, but look at it from the same body of knowledge. So that way, it's very consistent with what they've already learned. And so there's a lot of advantages to using different sort of specific vendors, and ISACA definitely have their own pathway, which is again why it's really popular.
Right.
So what we're going to go over for the next few slides is some different cyber pathways looking at different certifications. And I spend a lot of my time talking to clients, trying to understand their needs, on what they're looking for in terms of uplifting the skills, working out which certifications are suitable. It's quite funny because a lot of the conversations, and I'm asked this on a regular basis, is that, I've been told I need to get a CISP. Without actually understanding, will the CISP align to your role that you're doing? And CISP is a fantastic certification. It is considered one of the crown jewels of cybersecurity certifications. And it has been given such a high reputation. But what we see out in the marketplace is we see, we often see these higher end certifications being advertised for entry level roles. And so a lot of people think, well, look, that's all I need to get. When in fact, there is a more I wouldn't say it's a straightforward pathway, because choosing a certification or going on a certification pathways is almost like those old choose your own adventure books. There's different branches, different ways you can go depending on the different types of domains and skills that you want to learn across your career. And so there are courses like CISP and CISM that are excellent, but it might not necessarily be the right certification course to do straight away. And in some cases, you may not also have the experience requirement, which does make up a component of that certification process for those. So what we have on the screen here is a high-level cyber management pathway. And so what you'll see is we've broken it down across 5 years. The top line is what you would call, the main story. Okay, so I spoke about a choose your own adventure. You got your main story, but then you got some side quests you can do. And so for maybe those who like gaming, you run a game, but then there's side quests all throughout the game where you can go out and do different things. It's no different to your own learning pathway. And so looking at this has been put together with the expectation that someone looking at this is working in IT. They might have started in IT. We know they've got some experience already, but they're really wanting to focus on enhancing and building their own cyber security skills pathways. And so, we started off with the ISC2 Certified in Cybersecurity, which is a high-level overview course. It really looks at the fundamentals of cybersecurity and what it's all about. If you are looking to gain some experience on the risk or the audit side, there are also some fundamental courses that you can look at. From there, you'd then look at moving on to a certification like CompTIA Security Plus. And Louis, I'm going to actually throw to you to talk about Security Plus. It's a course that you deliver regularly. You've delivered it to students ranging from graduates straight out of university to IT professionals who've been working in IT for 5+ years. Why is it that we recommend this certification as a great starting point or a springboard certification, down that cyber pathway?
Yeah, I always like running both the foundational classes and the top level classes. Like I love running CISP and CISM with a bunch of experts in the room, but then I love sort of getting people who are sort of newer in the industry and going through, hey, here's 1 day of CC or here's 5 days of Security Plus. And part of it is that the amount of content that we go through in Security Plus and all the labs and discussions that come from it is so broad, because as you saw in that mind map before several slides ago, is that the breadth of what you need to know in security is so broad. And so we go through what are the most important fundamental aspects that any security professional should know in Security Plus. It's a 5-day, I don't want to use the word boot camp, but it's a 5-day boot camp of exactly the things that I expect anyone coming into cyber should know. Now, one of the challenges I've seen, and I want to see a fix for this. I like that I'm the fix for it, but I like a different fix, which is that I get people, and I don't want to trash universities. So I used to be a university lecturer. I love universities, but I get people that come in who are Bachelor of Cybersecurity or Bachelor of Computer Science and did a major in cyber, and the gap between what they know and what Security Plus teaches and what they need to know for their job, between the university gap and the Security Plus, is so much wider than it should be. I really want to see universities catch up, but right now they're not. I remember having a chat with a friend of mine, and he said he would rather pay $20,000 more in a salary to hire someone who's got a year experience or someone who's got some knowledge of the cyber stuff rather than a university graduate right now. Like, that's shocking to me. I don't like that. I want to see everyone uplift here. So the Security Plus really does accelerate the learning and bridge that gap between what someone does know and what they need to know in order to have sort of a foundational cybersecurity role. So I'm a big fan of Security Plus. I think it's a phenomenal certification, and that's why we run so much of it.
Perfect. So as you move along, we then look at some of the more analyst vulnerability type courses with cybersecurity analyst and the new cybersecurity certified operations analyst course from ISACA. And then as you start to move on, you start looking at some of these more risk and audit type focus courses. And so Miraj, if you can just talk to C-Risk for me, just for a little bit, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's one area where we all are concerned as a working professional. Most of the organization, they look at the enterprise risk as a major thing, which is impacting every aspect of our business. So if you are planning to dive into the risk-related activities from an IT point of view or cyber point of view, C-Risk is the way to go forward. So that'll actually guide you on the principles of risk management, more in line with how to look at the business. So how do you map your risk management practices in line with the business objective? That's the whole point. So that's one thing I personally felt really useful for me when I was practicing in various roles. Risk is a key thing within the organization, and we need to have a solid knowledge of how we practice risk management across the organization. And I would say C-Risk has played a pivotal role in my career growth, whereby I could really position myself as a part of the overall risk management portfolio within my previous work. So I would say that C-Risk is one of the certifications which really can propel you into that space with ample knowledge in risk management. It talks about IT in general, but more specific overall risk management. So it actually fits into the overall landscape of our organization. That's where we need to propel our career as a professional. Yeah. So I mean, C-Risk is a good way if you're looking at risk as well as governance to an extent. Yeah, it all covers there. Yeah.
Perfect. And then as you move to sort of that 5+ year, that's when you start looking at some of the more leadership and operational type certifications. So CISP, very popular, one of the top rating global certifications. CISM as well. We've seen CISM, especially in the ANZ region, become quite popular. It's focusing more on that program management, building a security program, looking at the risk management as well, and also building up incident response. And a lot of professionals will actually look at getting both those certifications, both the CISP and CISM. And then you have courses like CGIT, CCISO, and Security X, which are all sort of aimed at those senior level professionals. And again, it's looking, there is quite a GRC focus, although Security X does have a big practical component to it as well. So it is probably more hands-on versus the other 4 courses there, which are more theory-based courses. And of course, throughout your career, like I mentioned, there are other certifications in there you might look at. We've got incident handler. So, if you're going to be part of your incident response team or responsible for that, then doing some training on that aspect is highly worthwhile, because it actually talks you through not only setting up an incident response strategy, but then what to do post-breach. If you're more hands-on, if you're looking after your organization's networks, your cloud infrastructure, then courses like Certified Network Defender are very good in that aspect as well. So like I said, the top line is sort of the straight line that you could follow, but you could really branch off and look at other certifications along the way. And the other thing to note as well is, whilst we have this, from year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and 5+, it doesn't mean you have to wait that long to sit it. So I just want to be clear with that. With some certifications, like some of your ISC2, so your CISPs and CISMs, CCISOs, there are a practical requirement to actually certifying. So you have to pass the exam, but in the case of CISP, you also have to have 5 years of full-time work experience in those domains. With other certifications, they aren't. So it doesn't mean that you have to wait until you've been working for 2 years to sit Security Plus. But this is just looking at it at a high-level view from somebody who's sort of in IT wanting to start their pathway. So moving on, we're going to have a look at a couple of different pathways with a few different feeder roles and what these certifications might look like. Now, some of these are going to be a mixture of instructor-led training, and then in the case of some of the OffSec certification courses and some of the practical DevSecOps courses, those are actually self-paced learning as well. So there are different modalities to learn. Many of our instructor-led training courses that we deliver are also available as self-paced learning. It really comes down to how you want to study, but in some cases, the only option is self-paced, like with OffSec as an example there. So Louis, I'm going to hand over to you just to talk through a couple of these pathways that are on the screen now.
Sure. So the first one there is looking at blue team, and so when we talk about blue and red, blue is defense, red is offensive, as like attacking, not as in making people feel sad. But when it comes to our blue team, and same with the red team and the digital forensics, that fundamental what you need to know in security is paramount. That's why Security Plus across all three of them. Absolutely essential. For the top line, you're defending. Therefore, we've recommended Network Defender and Understanding Threats, Threat Intelligence Analyst. That's what we've expected at a base level of knowledge. You can see the other ones for the other feeder roles like ethical hacking and pen test for offensive security, and some of the other ones there for digital forensics incident response, or DFIR, which is the acronym that gets used in the industry. Hacking forensic investigator and the incident handler, as well as threat intelligence analyst, the 1 or 2 level experience there. Once you sort of get to the advanced ones, the CCOA is the brand new Osaka course that's just come out, which is focusing on operational analysts. It's really sort of helping our defense team, blue team, sort of understand being able to read a scene, being able to look through logs, being able to analyze different types of attacks. The actual exam itself has a multiple choice component, but it actually has a massive lab component. A lot of people I've spoken to found the lab really challenging in order to pass the exam, which is it's a great praise for that sort of certification, especially as it is brand new. So very excited to see what the market's going to do with that one. But of course, you have some other ones there, which is the CYSA Security Analyst class from a CompTIA, which is phenomenal, and there's the OSDO one there as well. For some of the other ones, you can see the OffSec for some of the other ones there. For both offensive and DFIR. On the expert side, we have CISM, which we already mentioned. I get a number of my students that come hang out with me on a CISP, and then I see them again about a year later for CISM. And again, it's the same problem coming from 2 different pathways or 2 different ways of looking at it, which again, students get a lot of value looking at both of those there. CGIT is obviously looking from a governance perspective, which is looking from an ASARC perspective. Then if you're getting into the red team side of the equation, then the offensive security looking at sort of being able to create exploits, both for web and for systems. Obviously, you need to sort of dive deeper into sort of getting a greater level of experience and knowledge, and being able to create those different malware, different exploit techniques, which is really quite important. So that's the main one for those 3 there, Jeremy.
Thank you very much, Louis. And so next up, we're looking at probably a variety of roles here. So first and foremost is those individuals with sort of sysadmin, network admin, analyst type roles. Courses like the SSCP are really good. It's aimed at those IT administrators, managers, network security professionals, people who are responsible for that hands-on operational security of their organization. You'll notice we'll drop CEH in there. So what we find is a lot of people coming through, they do their first course, they might do a Security Plus or an SSCP. So you learn how to secure your network, how to secure the organization, you put controls in place. CEH is a great course to actually learn fundamentals of how to break into those. So you put all these controls in place. Now I'm going to go and test them. And so we actually get a lot of people who will sit both courses. They want to look at it from the defense side. They want to look at it from the attacker side. Certified Network Defender looks at essentially all things network, whether it's on-site, off-site, cloud-based infrastructure, and how to secure that. It's highly technical, a lot of labs, but really good again for anybody that's sort of in that network administrator, security administrator type role. From there, we look at some of the analyst courses, which Louis covered off on the previous screen, and then you move on to courses like CISP and SecurityX. I'm going to get Louis back to talk about this one because this is how Louis got into security through software development. Louis, just want to talk about this and maybe also just touch on, your experience when you were actually, going down this pathway yourself.
Yeah, so software security people usually blame the software people for all the security problems. So having a software and security background is a weird thing to have. So I'm pleased having a weird background. It works well for me. So I know because I did a massive project, sort of centralized security testing for an international government. That's sort of how I fell into security. But one of the things that I sat my CH was my first sort of security certification that I sat, and I sat there going, "Is this real? Is that a thing? I didn't know about that." I genuinely sat the course twice because I really need to absorb everything because I was trying to build a lot of scripts, finding a lot of this stuff, and it was one of those things that I had a bunch of experience, but there was a lot of gaps, and I was like, "Oh, I need to know these gaps." So the CH was really useful for me. I really liked it. That's why I still like it. And so Security Plus obviously has a lot of good defense knowledge, but the CH is really good attack knowledge. Again, depends what you need to learn. I get a lot of people in my classes that just come for the attack because they've got 15 years experience in defense, but they've never done the attack side of it. Looking at the advanced pathway, the DevSecOps professional courses are really good there. If you have some people who utilize systems and they have to do with PII, then that's CDIPSI, which is a privacy certification. That could be quite useful as privacy requirements globally sort of increasing, and the things that a software developer may need to know could go up. And so we put that in there as a potential. And then sort of the gold standard for security software certifications is the CSSLP. It's a Certified Secure Software Lifecycle Professional. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a good acronym. And it basically, I like to define it as like a CISP for software people. And I get people going through mine and they get so much out of it because, again, there's so many gaps that software people don't know about security. Then you've also got some security people that have some gaps around how software works and how to actually put security into a software lifecycle. So it's not how does the code work, it's how do you bake it in so the process is secure, not just the product, and not just focusing on do we train the one developer to be secure, because what if that person leaves, and what about the rest of the team? It's about the process of it, which again, I really like that certification for actually looking at the end-to-end creation of software, not just one little component of it. I think it's really important. That's it for software.
Yep.
Jeremy.
No, thanks, Louis, and completely agree there with everything that you're saying. Looking at cloud security, again, we've put some of those courses, so Security Plus is in there, Certified Network Defender, Certified Cloud Security Engineer from EC Council, which is, again, a bit more advanced, goes into a lot of different concepts in the cloud. So obviously you've got the cloud security side, but you've got pen testing in the cloud, disaster recovery in the cloud, and much more. So DIPSI, which looks at that, around that whole data privacy piece, and then the ISC2 Certified Cloud Security Professional, or the CCSP, which is their senior level management cloud course, which is really aimed at professionals who are pulling it all together. What you'll notice under there is a big blue arrow that says technology specific training as required. So one thing throughout your career is that you are always going to be consistently training on the technology that you're using. So whilst we've got cloud security here, you might be saying, hang on, Jeremy, there's nothing there that mentions Azure or AWS, because that's going to be specific to the organization that you're working in. And so you're always going to be doing training on that technology. If there's an update to Sentinel, then there's going to be new training coming out there. You might get trained, if your organization's using Splunk, then you might be doing training on Splunk. So you will be training throughout your career as you go on, whereas the cybersecurity certifications are all about enabling your skills, your knowledge in those areas, and validating those skills to then manage the security programs across these different domains. So up next are some examples of governance, risk, and compliance pathways. And Miraj, I'm going to invite you to talk to these because I know this is your bread and butter, and this is something that you're very passionate about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you. So when we talk about risk compliance and governance, we need to start from knowing the basics. So that's why we need to start from understanding what's there in the space in terms of our IT space. We need to know our organizational assets and all that. So a certification like Security Plus really positions you there to understand what's required, right? Then once you have an understanding of what is there, what we need to protect, or what we need to manage in our organization, then we look at other certifications like C-Risk, which can actually guide you on how to manage risk across the organization. So as part of risk management, we'll do incident management. We have to prepare our business continuity planning, disaster recovery planning, all that. That's part of, once you have an understanding of what are your important processes, with a couple of years of experience, you move into the next level where you start looking at the bigger picture of how to protect, how to enhance the continuity of our business. That's where C-Risk will really position you there. Now, once you implement your practices, we need to make sure that we have an assurance process in place. That's where we need to have some sort of audit or I would say a review process. This is something very important, a security review or something similar to that. So that's where CISA will position to do an audit of what we are doing, how we are practicing it within the organization, your incident management process, your IT controls which you have implemented, or information security control. We need to know that. So CISA, information security auditor, will really help you to understand what need to look at to enhance within our organization to meet our organization objective. Again, these days, privacy is very important as part of any organization's outlook. So we need to know what need to be done from a privacy point of view. So maybe we need to do a privacy impact analysis, which is again part of your risk assessment as an organization. So we need to do a privacy impact analysis, and we need to know what need to be done to protect the privacy of our organization asset. So that's where CDPC again gives you an insight. Now, going towards a role of a CISO within the organization, you need to have a solid understanding of the overall organization's infrastructure. Then we need to know the processes. That's where the security plus then CISM, again, is a very important certification, I would say, which will propel you into the space of managing everything in IT, or in terms of managing the entire space, So again, CISM also, to an extent, it is aligning ourselves with the entire space. So I've faced myself challenges when it comes to security. Louis was telling he came from software background, but I'm not. I came from an infrastructure background. I was basically a network person who was designing the network. So for me, security was quite new. So again, a certification like CISP actually gave me an insight into what need to be looked at from a security, apply security in a software space. Yeah. Then governance, you don't need. Governance is about getting the things done within the organization, meeting the objectives of the organization, right? So CGIT is again aligned towards that. So I would say that's a roadmap. I started off with something very basic, then I moved on to the governance space. These are some of the certifications which really propel me into that space, like CISP, CISM, C-Risk, even CISA, because that was part of the audit, the assurance process. At the end, management want to know how we are doing it, how we are achieving this, what's the security posture of our organization. That's what we are looking at. So these are some of the certificates. And recently we had more updates on I would say, AI space. There are some new certification out there in that space, and probably Jeremy can give more details about what we are doing in that space. But that's again really exciting because these are all aligned towards automation and how we are achieving how we are increasing the efficiency of our organization. Yeah.
Thanks, Miraj. And look, a question that I'm going to ask both of you here, because I know you both deliver this course, and I get asked all the time. The new CGRC, so Certified in Governance, Risk and Compliance, from ISC2 and C-Risk. What's the difference? Should I do one or the other? Should I do both? Explain it to me.
So the simplest way to put it is that C-Risk really looks at risk management from a SACA, but also sort of like an ISO perspective. CGRC used to be called the CAP, and it used to be a very NIST risk management framework, not cybersecurity framework, they're different things. NIST risk management framework focused course, and it's now a globally focused course, but its roots are still there in NIST. So and the ISM is linked to the NIST risk management framework as well. So if you find yourself very NIST aligned, CGRC is really good. If you find yourself ISO aligned, C-Risk is really good. Again, both really good courses, both come at risk management, but they both come at very different ways. So I had a class, and there were two different students, or there's other people, but there's two different students, and one of them had very little experience. It was literally his third month on the job, and one had 10-15 years experience, but none in NIST. It was all sort of ISO based. And so they both got a lot out of the CGRC course because one needs to understand how risk management fits with an organization, and one wanted to understand how NIST was different to his experience, why they do that, why they have certain terms, why they use certain documents. And they both of them got a lot out of their course, and so did other, obviously, other people in the course did. But they both got a lot out of it, even though they had two very different skill levels.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that one, Miraj.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, student risk, I would say, I mean, at least from my my point of view, more of a risk perspective from ISACA's view. CGRC is more of kind of governance and more of compliance, looking at from a NIST and ISO point of view. So if you want to have a holistic view, you need to start, I would say we need to know risk management. That you'll get from serious, but at the same time, if you want to know how to govern the risk management across the organization, you need to know something on a framework basis like CGRC, which will guide you on how to do that in an organization. It doesn't matter whether you're going for NIST or ISO. At the end, you need to have a framework which will allow you to run your GRC program and meet the compliance requirement. And by the way, compliance is a big thing these days. If you don't meet the compliance requirements, the penalties are going to be heavy. So I would say CRISC and CGRC go hand in hand, and this will propel you into that space to have a solid credential as well as knowledge in that space. Yeah.
Right. No, that's a great explanation. And I think, when we were chatting prior to this webinar, we were talking just about how we've seen such a big increase in professionals and organizations actually upskilling their teams in that whole risk space, but also that audit and compliance space as well. And we are seeing more enterprises being required to either align to or meet standards like ISO 27001. Certainly in Australia, a lot of organizations need to align to certain maturity levels, the Essential 8, or are aligning against the ISM, and so they're going out and they're running audits, they're running risk assessments, they're looking to see how they're actually, or where their organization is, and they're running these gap assessments to be able to then uplift their security maturity. So it is an exciting space, I think, and certainly something when I'm asked about certifications that individuals should look at, or pathways, and is risk and audit something that I should look at, I always say yes. I see it as an area where, with just the amount of technology that's coming in into organizations and businesses, it's always going to be a risk, and so there's always going to be a need for somebody to be managing that there. And just on the bottom line, we do look at some of the audit and compliance certifications, from that fundamentals perspective with the ISACA IT audit fundamentals, CGRC again from that compliance perspective, and then look at CISA. So CISA is more aimed at, let's call it just audit in general. So it's not 27001 or 42001 like we see a bit later on, but it looks at that. And then we have the brand new AAIA audit course from ISACA, which is the Advanced in AI Audit certification, which was announced just recently. Again, this is aimed at professionals, and professionals who are auditors, do hold a CISA certification to implement that AI part of the whole audit process there as well. And then we move on to certifications like ISO 27001 lead auditor and ISO 42001 lead auditor, and that's an interesting one. 42001 is looking at the AI management systems. So we're seeing a number of organizations who are implementing their own AI systems actually looking for their own teams to be able to audit those. So whilst you've got your implementation team, you do have the teams who will audit that and make sure that they are aligning either to the standard if they're going for certification, or they might be trying to just at least meet certain levels there as well. And one thing about those two certifications there as well, if you are interested in going down that ISO 27001 lead auditor track, for example, you don't need to wait for 5 years. If you are doing auditing already in an organization, you can actually go and sit it. It just depends on the amount of experience you have in years and also in hours of audit as to how you will certify. But you might only certify as an auditor. But then once you hit those 300 hours, you can then step up to that lead auditor certification role. with PCB. My journey was like that. When I got mine, I didn't initially certify as a lead auditor, but after I hit the next level up, I was able to upgrade the certification. So keep that in mind as well. Now, a question that does come up a lot, especially in the Australian classrooms, is I'm thinking of doing my IRAP, or I want to become an IRAP assessor. What certification do I need to get? And so the IRAP program has requirements that you must hold certifications from two separate categories, so Category A and Category B. And what we've done here is just shown some of those certifications that we can help you with in that sense. So from Category A, you either need to look at holding a CISP or a CISM certification. And then in Category B, you need to either hold CRISC, CISA, or ISO 27001 Lead Auditor certification. And then once you've got those, there's other requirements that you do need to meet, but these are the certifications that you need to look at as well. So if that is something that you're going, okay, part of my plan as a cyber professional is, my long-term goal is I want to actually become an IRAP assessor, then, picking one from Category A and one from Category B, it's a great way to help plan the training that you're going to do as well down that track. Now, we mentioned earlier on around AI-related certifications. So we have a number of new certifications that align to AI. There's a number of new certifications that are coming this year, and there's some new ones next year. So the ones that are available now, we have the ISO 42001, so lead implementer and lead auditor. And ISO 42001 is all around managing an AI management system within the organization. So it looks at it from either that implementation process, so if you're part of that team implementing it, or if you're on the other side and you're actually going to be auditing the AI management system of an organization, whether it's your own or an external organization. These two courses really help you with that. We also have the brand new Practical DevSecOps Certified AI Security Professional. So again, this is aimed at anyone within IT with at least some baseline knowledge of security, and it really then deep dives into different methods, different tools, different options when it comes to AI security. That one as well is a self-paced course. And then we have the brand new AI certs, which Lumify has just launched. And these essentially are designed to help individuals when it comes to AI in a range of different topics. And what I've done is just taken a snapshot here of some of the certifications that align to cybersecurity. But if you jump onto the Lumify website, there's a huge amount of certifications available from AI certs, from your fundamental AI through to AI for executives, AI for blockchain, and more. Two very exciting certifications that are coming out later this year from ISACA. So we have the ISACA Advanced in AI Security Management, which is just going into its beta phase at the moment, and both Louis and Miraj are going to be part of that to get certified and to be able to deliver that. And then the ISACA Advanced in AI Audit, which Miraj is just about ready to sit the exam. He's going through that at the moment with the goal to be able to bring that to the Australian market within the next couple of months as well. And then coming early next year, CompTIA just announced that they're going to have Sec AI Plus, which is a security AI focused certification. And as we get more information about that and whatnot, we will make that information available and plan to bring that to market in Australia as well. So we've spoken about a lot of different certifications today, different pathways, different ways you can go. We do have some bundled training available as well. So if you're thinking, okay, you know what, I actually want to focus on risk, or I want to do a bit more on risk and audit, or I am well into my career, and I really want to look at sitting my CISP and CISM. We do make some options available here, which is training and exam vouchers, and it's all bundled together. And so we'll send out some information about these in a follow-up email as well after the webinar. But this is a really good way to get some training, get a couple of certifications under your belt as well that align to a domain. So whether it's cyber risk, whether it's risk and governance, risk and audit, that executive level, that analyst and incident response level, and brand new bundle, which is our security and compliance professional, which will be going live very shortly. So before we finish up, I just want to cover off that for all the certifications that we've spoken about today, Lumify are authorized training partners for those vendors. So our instructors are certified to teach you these courses. So Louis and Miraj, are both qualified and hold current certifications for the courses that they deliver. They are regularly assessed by the vendors as well to retain their authorization to deliver. And we only deliver these courses using official course material. And with that, we'll see if we have any questions. Doesn't look like anything's come through yet, but I will actually pose one to Louis and Miraj, because Louis, I know you've been asked this a lot, and Miraj, I'm sure you have as well, and certainly it's come up a lot in my conversations. But what's the difference between CISP and CISM?
So, yeah, Louis, you want to take it up? All right. So, CIS, I would say, is touching on every aspect of cyberspace. I would say if you want to look at everything in an organization, that's CIS. But if you want to just look at the how to manage stuff within that space, that's where CISM will help you, right? Focusing more on risk management, general information security program management. So both have, one is very wide, a little bit more technical in nature, which sits that will give you a good foundation. But when you talk about CISM, it's going to be like how to manage everything together. So once you have the full foundation, you have something like CISM, which will sit on top of it. Probably, I would not say sit on top of it, but it will complement each other, and that will help you to manage your cyberspace. So both are required for career progression within an organization. Yeah, quite important certifications in the industry. Yeah.
Yep. No, and it's just interesting to get your perspective on it as well. Certainly it does come up a lot, and we do see a lot of people who are in more management focused roles will tend to lean towards CISM because they might not necessarily have the technical expertise that's required with CISP as well, or their role doesn't require that, where it is more more focused to those domains of CISM.
Right.
And I suppose something else now, looking at some of those courses we've discussed today, what would help for someone, internally who might have to align to certain frameworks, or, that they're trying to align to the ISM or the E8 or APRA or PSPF? What would be some recommendations around training there that might help with that?
I would say, we need to have an understanding of the framework. What are the framework? We need to know what are the basic frameworks which are there in the industry and all that. So we can start with, IT, something on understanding the basics of risk like CISM, or, you can start there. Then we can, once you have an understanding of what are the different frameworks which are there, then we can actually deep dive into those frameworks. So I would say that knowing at least one framework like ISO or a NIST, or any of the other frameworks, that will really help us to implement those in our organization. So it is actually these frameworks are very closely related. So just like knowing one framework will actually help us implement. That's been my experience as well. I started off with my ISO experience, then moved on to NIST, within the NIST CSF implementation across the organization. So it was like, getting the best practices or best advices on these from this framework and how to implement it. But in that space, I would say CISP was one of the certifications which can help you there. Then CISM is another one which can help you. And if you want to focus more on risk in the overall perspective, you can look at CRISC. That will give you in-depth knowledge on, say, NIST risk management frameworks and many other management frameworks. So understanding a framework is more than sufficient. That will help you to understand any other relevant framework in the industry, because all the framework talk the same language. That is more about having a structure towards implementing your information security, I would say, governance and program across the organization. That's the use of framework. And this was one of the areas which I really struggled when I was in the space, to understand the framework, what framework to pick up, what need to be applied, So, that's where, you need to have an understanding of this framework. What is there in the industry, what we can use, and what's the best practice which is required for our organization, or, that's a perspective we need to look at. Yeah.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
No, that's great. Great feedback. Well, we don't have any more questions. So thank you very much for joining our webinar today. Louis, Miraj, thank you so much for sharing your insights. If you'd like to connect with any of us on the panel today, our LinkedIn links are shown on the screen. If you're interested in finding out more about training, please reach out to either your account manager or through to Lumify via the website. Thanks so much for coming today.